guys, welcome to my new video, and today there's going to be even more healer changes announced for patch 9.05 that's supposed to be coming out in March. Let's go talk at some of the healer legendary tuning, spell tuning, and basically my opinion in terms of how that's going to impact them, and maybe, you know, little predictions. So first of all, let's go and have a look at Restoration Druids, and that is, again, there's more buffs for Resto. It's really nice to see that wild growth has been increased. Combine this with the rejuvenation buff that happened a couple of days ago, was announced a couple of days ago, we're looking at an overall 4% healing increase, which again is pretty nice. On top of the fact that Verdant Fusion, Swiftment, or the extension has been increased to 10 seconds. So what does this mean? Resto Druid overall HPS performance in Mythic raids is okay. These are, like, in my opinion, Restoration Druids, Holy Priests, and Mistweaver Monks are considered as the HPS healers, where their utility outside of the pure HPS can be somewhat lacking when you compare it to Restoration Shaman, Discipline Priest, and Holy Paladin. So I feel like those healers need to have a clear advantage in terms of HPS, and I guess Resto Druid increase towards like 4 or 5% increase in HPS is very welcome. And again, we'll have to see how the boss raid damage patterns are going to work out, but honestly, really wanted, especially considering the fact that Resto Druid Mythic Plus performance, at least based on numbers, has been dipping. They're no longer the kings of Mythic Plus, at least if you look at the numbers for it. So if you look at the Verdant Fusion change, again, I talked about Verdant Fusion, it's a legendary that has really picked up in terms of popularity because of its basically single target healing that it provides. If you look at Mythic Plus, and this is information, real play information from Doom Keys from 18 to 22, so really high-end content. Circle Life of Dead is really popular, but not that far behind Verdant Fusion. The buff to this is probably gonna mean that if tanks are still going to be as squishy as they are, Verdant Fusion might become the go-to or something to be crafted if you're a Resto Druid looking to do Mythic Plus content or high-end Mythic Plus content, on top of the fact that it's also good for PvP. If you look at raid situations in terms of legendaries, honestly, Vision of Unending Growth is going to be the way to go, because again, Rejuvenation is getting a buff, so technically this legendary is getting a bit of a buff because it's to do with Rejuvenation. So all of a sudden, I definitely see this being a strong option in raids in the future, unless something's going to change, and this is Resto Druid changes that are announced for 9.05. Let's go and have a look at Monk. And Monk here, I don't know how to put it. Am I super excited? For 9.05, probably the right way to go with smaller changes, and for 9.1, maybe something bigger. And we'll see that in BlizzCon. Maybe there's going to be something announced. Again, they're going to reduce the Renewing Mist cost even more, on top of the previous changes to Vivify. So the mana cost, they're definitely listening to the community, because the biggest outpour towards Mistweaver performance is to do with mana and maybe lack of a strong niche, but those things are too hard to fix right now. So this is their band-aid fix, which I feel is actually a good way to go for this time being. But later on, 9.1, I would like to have a stronger niche. On top of that, they're also increased or buffed one of the legendaries, Clouded Focus. This legendary was not really strong or used by any of the Mistweavers in any of the content, with the exception of Sunking. If we go to Sunking, we might actually see that, hey, it's the second most popular legendary for Mistweavers. But generally speaking, if we look at the Mistweaver legendary performance or popularity in high-end Mythic Plus for Mistweavers, you'll see that a lot of the times Tier of Morning is the go-to, with Fist Weaving legendary being very popular. So there's actually a good balance between these two legendaries, and then the third option, Cloud of Focus, with very few of them being used. The general consensus is that because Cloud of Focus requires you to cast Soothing Mist, it can be awkward to use if you're trying to use it in a Fist Weaving build and things like that, but I do consider Cloud of Focus to be something that might see a niche, especially with the buff. So generally speaking, if you look at raids, you'll see that an overwhelming amount of, and this is Mythic content, 799 Mistweavers, an overwhelming amount of them are using Ancient Teacher Monastery, mainly because this is, or Fist Weaving is the way to go for Mistweavers, especially with the mana consumption being so tight when picking things like Upwelling. So Ancient or Fist Weaving Legendary is definitely the way to go, with second being Invoker's Delight in terms of popularity. But again, like I mentioned, I'm not sure if Cloud of Focus is gonna make a really strong dent when you compare that Fist Weaving Legendary being strong, Tier of Morning being relatively strong as well. We'll have to see in the future. Are these changes going to make Mistweavers the best healers in 9.05? Probably not. I think it's the right direction in terms of lowering their mana consumption, but having a stronger niche in the future content or future patches could be really interesting. Maybe buffing their DPS, because you have to remember that Holy Paladin basically takes Mistweaver's niche at this point if a Mistweaver is fist weaving. So when you compare them side by side, Holy Paladin basically always wins. So Blizzard has to give either a strong niche or buff Mistweavers in ways that they can compare or compete with Holy Paladin. Let's go and have a look at other changes, and that is going to include Paladins. Just like I mentioned, Holy Paladin is getting more changes, and this is really, it's not a surprise at all. So if you're playing a Holy Paladin right now, you know there's only one legendary that you are using. And for Mythic Plus content, there is 92% of people who are doing high keys are using Shock Barrier. And there are 99% of Holy Paladins who are doing raids are using Shock Barrier. Shock Barrier is by far the best legendary right now. I have a Holy Paladin, I only crafted one legendary, and that will suit me for all content. It does around 10 plus of your overall healing in all content. That is insane for a legendary. Shock Barrier is just really strong. So what's happening? They're buffing other legendaries to help them compete with Shock Barrier. All of a sudden you see the Inflorescence, and this is the infamous legendary that was tied into the Holy Light ranged Holy Paladin build. It is still a strong legendary for raid situations, and it's getting a buff that increases, the effect is increased by 30% instead of 20%. So maybe this is going to compete, or again, this is a recommended legendary, or if you don't want to run Shock Barrier, this can actually be a solid legendary in raid situations as a Holy Paladin. It does not mean you're a ranged Holy Paladin, it just means you're going to be using your filler abilities like Holy Light, especially with the conduit that you have, more. So basically that's what it means. And again, are we going to see double legendaries available from 9.1? I'm not 100% sure. And then Shadow Breaker, Dawn of Light, and this is something that's going to bring me into the PTR because I've been testing PTR. So Light of Dawn's range is increased by 40 yards. All allies within your Light of Dawn benefit from Mastery Lightbringer as though they were within 10 yards for 6 seconds, now 10 seconds. What does this mean? First of all, if you have more Mastery, this legendary is going to be better. If you use Light of Dawn more, this is going to be better. I kind of want to propose a possible synergy on idea with Necrolord, and that requires us to go to PTR. Let's go. So very recently, Necrolord Vanquisher's Hammer has been buffed, and it now generates Holy Power. This means it also procs Light of Dawn, and again, Shadow Breaker legendary, the more Light of Dawns you use, the more Mastery you have. There could be a secret synergy here. I'm not saying this is going to be the way to go. All I'm saying, or I'm trying to propose, there could be a cool new synergy here. So for example, the way you use Vanquisher's Hammer, you're going to press it, you're going to generate Holy Power. Now you need 2 more Holy Power in order to use your World of Glory. If you use your World of Glory, it's going to cast, automatically trigger Light of Dawn. And when you combine it, like I talked about Shadow Breaker legendary, there could be some synergy happening here. And honestly, it'll be interesting to see. I think it's very exciting time to be a Holy Paladin, because with a couple of more tuning changes, you could possibly see a new build emerging. Maybe there's going to be 2 legendaries available with 9.1, I'm not sure. But actually excited about Holy Paladins and the changes that could happen to them in the very near future. So now let's go to Priest. And Holy has got some buffs that are very interesting, because I do feel Holy needs a stronger niche. Like I talked about it a lot. A lot of the times people kind of don't look at Holy Priest because, hey, if you want to be competitive, you can swap the discipline. So who cares if Holy is not competing properly? So it's nice to see that Blizzard is trying to address some of the issues. So the biggest buff here is going to be Divine Hymn. Heals all party raid members within 40 yards, over 8 seconds. Each heal increases all targets healing taken by 4% for 15 seconds stacking. Now the way you're going to read this, you might be confused about, hey, is there going to be, first of all, there's going to be 5 ticks. Every tick is going to give you 4% increased healing. So technically, and it's going to refresh the duration. So technically at the end of the cast of Divine Hymn, everybody in the raid group is going to have 20% increased healing done to them for 15 seconds. So just to showcase it, let's go to PTR. So right now you can see my Holy Priest, and I'm going to be casting my Divine Hymn. It's gonna have 5 stacks of 5 ticks. And if you go to the top right corner, you can see here the buff that is going 2, 3 stacks, 4 stacks, 5 stacks, 15 second duration, healing received increased by 20%. So you can see that the buff to Divine Hymn is really substantial. And all of a sudden, this change, I feel, could be very exciting for Holy Priest doing raid content and things like that. The main issue you're gonna have with Divine Hymn buff is how are you going to use it in raid situations? It's based on damage patterns. In Castle Natural, there's a lot of burst healing that's required, and maybe there is nothing happening after you use a healing cooldown. So if you don't have these kind of continuous AoE healing fights where you can pop your Divine Hymn and then make sure you cast the full duration, and then you're gonna have this really strong 20% increase healing for the next 15 seconds to all of you other healers as well. If you don't have that kind of scenario, I'm not sure if Divine Hymn is going to do a whole lot here. So it is all dependent on the damage patterns of the next raid tier. It is all dependent again. We have to see how this is going to fit in, but honestly, it's a nice change. I think a lot of the times, maybe there's going to be more situations where you'll be like, hey, we need a pure HPS, we need 2 strong cooldowns with Divine Hymn and Holy War Salvation. Let's have a Holy Priest here instead of a Discipline Priest. We don't need that DPS from Discipline Priest, we don't need that damage reduction. I'm not saying Holy Priest is going to be the new meta healer. I don't think that's going to happen. I just think it's a little bit of a boost for Holy in raid situations, in Mythic Plus situations as well. So the next change is going to be with Legendary. And Flash Concentration is a Legendary that actually became one of the most popular Legendaries for high-end Holy Priests. So when they're doing like a +5 key or normal... I'm kidding. There's a lot of Holy Priests that are doing really high content and they're getting really good value out of it. So each time you cast Flash Heal, Heal has its cast time reduced by 0.2 seconds and healing increased by 3% for 20 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. This used to be 15 seconds if I'm not mistaken. And all of a sudden this Legendary has become one of the strongest or one of the most used Legendaries. If you go to information or data, real player data for Mythic Plus, you start seeing that, hey, Flash Concentration for Mythic Plus, for Holy Priest is really strong. And it makes sense because all you have to do is kind of cast that Flash Heal every 15 seconds before. Now it kind of goes up to 20 seconds. And all of a sudden your single target healing is increased. It actually changes your rotation a little bit. You need to make sure to keep this buff up, especially after you stacked it up 5 times. So I have heard a lot of positive opinions about this. I'd love to hear your opinion if you're playing Holy Priest right now. How do you feel about Flash Concentration buff? Again, you'll see in Mythic Plus that Harmonious Apparatus is still a relatively popular option. It is a far more popular option in raid situations where there is a 34% of Holy Priests who are doing high Mythic Plus content or Mythic raid content are using it. Again, Flash Concentration is becoming the #1 Legendary for high level Holy Priest, and this buff is only going to help you maintain that buff. And the last change is going to be Restoration Shamans. And Resto Shaman's got some minor changes to some extent in terms of healing front. In terms of nerfs, they're actually one of the healers who got a nerf in terms of their DPS. Lava Burst has been nerfed, and I've tested it out on PTR and there is a nerf to it. There has been some information going around that Chain Lightning might have received a general buff for all the Shaman specs, but I did not see that in PTR for Resto. So generally speaking, Resto Shaman DPS Lava Burst has been nerfed. And again, I'm not 100% on this one. I don't think Resto Shamans were top DPS or anything along those lines. So maybe I'm not 100% sure why Blizzard did this, but generally speaking, Shaman DPS is going to be lower in 9.05 if it's going to be released like this. Besides that, there has been a legendary buffs. Spirit Walker's Title Totem has been buffed. Now the buff to this is not something that I expected. After using Mana Tide Totem, the cast time of your Healing Wave and Chain Heal is reduced by 50%. So basically you just want to spam Healing Wave, Chain Heal. And the mana cost of Chain Heal and Healing Wave is reduced by 40% instead of 25%. So it becomes even bigger of a mana saving tool. Now, legendaries for Resto Shaman are kinda in the same boat as Holy Paladin. There is only kind of one legendary that's really dominating. In Mythic Plus, you'll see Primal Tide Core, which is the Riptide legendary. In raid situations and high-end Mythic raiding, you'll see, again, 98% of people using Primal Tide Core. So all of a sudden, Blizzard is trying to maybe give other legendaries a chance. The second most popular legendary in a lot of situations might be Spirit Walkers, again. So it might climb a bit, but I'm not super excited about this. I'm more excited about the fact that Resto Shaman Covenants are becoming so close to each other that in 9.05, you're probably going to be free to pick any Covenant and you're not going to be like, hey, I'm missing out a ton of HPS on it. You should still be fine. So I do wish there will be more legendary choices for Resto Shaman, but again, let me know how you feel about these healing changes. How do you think healing is going to revolve in 9.05 and 9.1? I'll probably will make some healer related videos in the future to look at the HPS and rates, to look at the healer viability in Mythic Plus, to do some predictions and things like that, and that's going to come down in the next couple of days or next couple of weeks. Check out the YouTube channel if you enjoy this type of content. Let me know, subscribe to it. I'm looking forward to 9.05. Let me know, and I'll see you in my next guide.